Hey guys, thanks for coming back to the channel here. Once again, Joe from Third World Aquatics. This is actually part 2 of the 720 gallon tank build out. In the first video, we took you almost up to the plumbing where, closed loop system was starting to come into play. And now this second part of the video, which will be the closeout, you're going to see the rest of it right here. We'll show you how we did the final plumbing to get this thing up and running. So here with the the sump filtration system somewhat already in position, I'm starting to lay things out as far as how I want to have good circulation with the main filtration system and also the closed loop system. And like in video 1, I talked about how we open up the bottom of that plywood there where all the center pipes would be coming through for all the supply and return lines. And here you're going to start seeing how we started to do the layout of the manifold. Now this is going to be the pressure side. This is coming off the motors, which you're going to see in time here, a pair of Dolphin motors. Now originally underneath this stand, well in this case the tank, they only had 3 supply lines and 2 return lines. I actually introduced another supply line and it'd be like 3 more return lines. So here I'm doing the layout, and obviously pipes are starting to go in all different directions. Some are obviously going to be heading for the sump to feed the rain plate. Some pipes are coming the opposite direction, which are going to be going right up to the center of the center island overflow. 3 of those would actually go up the center island overflow, and 2 more would continue on to each corner of the top of the tank, which would feed the sea swirls. Then I came up with a crazy concept. I thought, something, there's so many pipes here. What if I color coded everything? So I kind of came up with, the red lines would be, the pressure lines, which in this case is the returns. The greens are going to be the supply. And plus it kind of, it's kind of some artwork. I thought, if I lay this out right, it'll actually make more sense when I'm explaining the filtration system to others. And, your eyes visually grab it and you can see what's going on. So with the manifold, I painted all that red, coming from there, coming from the motors, heads right up to the center island overflow. The greens are going to be going back to the filtration system. Oranges are going to be the return lines to the closed loop, and the blue are the supply to the closed loop, which this will start to make sense as we kind of walk through these slideshows. The other thing I wanted to do, if you catch that real quick, you're going to see some check valves. There's actually 5 check valves that I put in, so if in the event that there was a power outage, that the check valves would slam close, and with that I would have less water working its way back into the sump. The 4 lines that are heading for the rain plate, you can see I've got valves on all of those, so I can actually control the flow of the water that's going in. Or at the same time, I can close the valve, pop off the left side of the pipe, and have access to the top of the rain plate, which in time I would actually use that to put in like a media pad to capture, kind of like a stage 1 mechanical filtration before it even hit the bioballs. So before I started getting going, I realized that, this sump came from a saltwater system. So you see in there just a few seconds ago where I actually pulled the sump out, took the bioballs out, did a full wash down, getting any of that salt residue kind of out of the equation, and then put it all back together. Here now you're starting to see the layout of the actual motors and how they're tied in to, the actual sump and how they work their way back over into the manifold. This is the left side of the filtration system. You can see back there where the 3rd Dolphin motor is and how it's going to feed the closed loop. And now this photo back on the right side, where those 2 Dolphin motors are going to feed the main filtration system. That's the back side. So those there, one's the primary, one's the redundant, and then obviously this one is the closed loop. The closed loop does 4750 per hour, and the big ones do 6250. So the return line, the pressure line on that one is orange, and that spider webs out to 4 different corners of the tanks. And then the 2 blue lines, they came from the center section, looped their way around, down, and eventually came together. And those are the supply line, or the single supply line in this case. The 2 come together as one. Same thing, there's a valve on the one blue, and there's a valve on the other blue. So I actually have the power to shut those down if I need to get into the motor. So there's 2 massive valves right there. Actually, there's valves all over this thing. So as crazy as it sounds, we were going to put the tank originally on the wall where you had seen in video 1. Crazy thing came up. We came across a skeet ball machine. The skeet ball machine would only fit in one place. There it is right there, in the man cave. So it was like, you got to be kidding me. So after all that work, thank God it wasn't filled, I actually slid the tank to the left, maybe 15 feet. So we took the mirror back down, slid the mirror over, remounted it, painted the wall, actually painted that back left corner blue because I didn't want to see the white. Granted, the floor wasn't painted, but you know, that's that. It was just one of those things. I'll deal with it later. But it was kind of a win because that corner actually was supposed to be laid out for a bar sink. And I thought, well, if I do a drip system, I can actually take one more line and tie it into the drain of the house. So if I had a drip system on it, obviously water in, water out. These, if you see the 2 pipes right there in the center, those are actually supply lines for the closed loop. And I went as far as actually painted with Krylon paint the 4 return lines, the 2 supply lines, which you're seeing there right quick, because I wanted those to blend in with the aquascaping, which you'd soon see in time. So now I'm starting to light everything up. As you can see, the pipes are coming in all directions now. Now it's starting to make sense. There's actually 2 more red lines there you might have caught. Actually, one of those is going to be for like 150, maybe 200 micron sock, which I would splinter off and drop into 2 socks right there in the center section of the sump. So now that everything is pretty much put together, the gravel's going in, the rocks are going in, the aquascaping process is well underway. And this is the art. This is the fun part as far as I'm concerned. I mean, building the filtration systems, I love doing that. I'm actually a fanatic on layout and design and kind of engineering, the filtration system for larger aquariums. But the real joy should be for everybody is the aquascaping, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to replicate something from that of the wild, and this is your part to shine. This is what it all comes down to. You want something to look somewhat lifelike, not just a tank with obviously everybody's got different concepts. I can appreciate them all. Some people just have tile on the bottom, just flat. Maybe they're breeding or just housing. And then obviously, sky's the limit with doing, live plants and foliage and pure growth. So sky's the limit. The look I was, obviously looking for here was kind of more of a rough look, more of the rock and the wood, just making it, because I knew with the peacock bass, I wanted something kind of rough looking. Now, I don't know if you caught it or not, but in the center section there, right there in that center island overflow, that was actually black a few moments ago. I actually got kind of underway, and that's when I realized I can't have that. So we went backwards a little bit, and I actually stomped that, I think it's 10 by 10 center island overflow, and I wanted that to more kind of blend in also. You know, I didn't want it just sticking out there. It was too intrusive, no good. So now, obviously, all the aquascaping is pretty much laid out. Obviously, now we're putting water in for the first time. You got to admit, I mean, not admit, but you got 6-7 years have gone by now. From the time I got the tank to this moment right here, it's almost 7 years. So filling this thing back up with water, this was a nerve-wracking moment right here. There's a lot of weight. You're really going back in time. You're thinking about the welding. You're thinking about the plywood, the cushion, the jacks, the acrylic. Did we do this right? You know, there's a lot of things going on, and you're hoping for the best. Because I have an astronomical amount of hours wrapped up in this, you know, filtration system. There was a little leak on the 2 bulkheads that came right out from the side of the filter. No big deal. Just drained that section. I popped those off, re-siliconed them, back online. This is kind of prepping for the center island overflow. These are actually the 4 supply lines that are going to feed the filtration system. So here you can see I got all set up. You know, in the end, the 1-inch cap right there, obviously we drill a hole there so it can breathe. And after about 3 to 5 minutes, all that gurgling comes to an end and it just becomes dead silent. There you can kind of see the sock filters right there in the center section. And I change those out like once a month. So, but right there it is. I mean, now the system's, you know, pretty much online, you know, like any filtration system or tank, little tweaks, little change of this, little change of that. But there it is. You know, there's actually one more line. You saw the orange and the blue for the closed loop. You saw the green and the red for the main filtration system. But there's actually one more color. It's the purple line, which is part of the drip system, water in, water out, and it goes right down the drain. So now we're introducing the bass for the first time. You know, kind of an exciting moment. You know, everything's looking good. We've got a pair of Temensis bass, 2 Azules, and 2 Orneos. And these photos are kind of old because those fish are a lot bigger now. But there it is, 720-gallon tank up and running. Things are looking good. But that's it. Thanks, guys. More videos coming. Like I said, Their World Aquatics, brand new YouTube channel. Just a shout out to all you guys that are making all these aquatic videos. Pretty much, I'm watching everybody's videos. Everybody's doing a phenomenal job. So there it is. We'll see you on the next one.